Okay, so I have a lot to talk about this time. I did a lot of scripting, so hopefully, uh, hopefully I cover uh, what I want to cover. I'm gonna try. I mean, it's a relatively short video as far as how much we're gonna watch the machine run or anything like that, but I want to talk about the things I've learned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group up the next two um, cool things. One is the Green Man Wizard. Got a lot of cool stuff in his hat, a lot of detail, and also the Flower Maiden, because the Flower Maiden has a lot of detail in that model as well. So one of the things is when I did the Green Man Wizard, with all the detail in the Green Man Wizard, I ran the 1/8 inch tapered ball nose end mill, and I looked at the result. I wasn't really crazy about it. I mean, it looked good, but I wanted something better. I wanted more detail. I wanted more detail in the beard. I wanted more detail around his eyes, because I'm thinking about how I'm going to paint it with the glazing and things like that. Um, it's good to have kind of deep, sharp crevices that paint and glaze is going to fill into, and we're going to talk about that more when we do all the painting. Um, there's a lot of detail in that little Green Man Wizard. In his hat, there's mushrooms and flowers and all kinds of crazy stuff in there. And cutting it with a 1/8 inch ball nose end mill just didn't bring out the detail. So I added in a 1/16 inch ball nose end mill, a tapered ball nose end mill, and did a process called rest machining. It's built in automatically to the 3D toolpath. And what it does is it allows you to use a larger tool to do, it's still a finished toolpath, so it uses a larger tool to do all of the larger areas. And then it allows you to use a smaller tool to reach into the little cracks and crevices that the bigger tool doesn't fit into. I think I used a model, an analogy of using the moon to carve out the Grand Canyon. Of course, the moon doesn't fit down into the Grand Canyon, so you're not going to get very good detail. But if you used a much smaller thing to fit into the Grand Canyon, you can get all the little cracks and crevices and mouse holes and, little details like that. Well, it's the same thing here. A 1/8 inch ball nose end mill doesn't fit into the little cracks and crevices. So a 1/16 ball nose end mill will go in there and cut out the material out of the little cracks and crevices. And yes, it does make a difference. So I let it go at that. I finished up the thing. I did the cutout. I popped it out, and it looks pretty good. You could see that in some of the details. One thing to note is my cell phone. I've got a nice cell phone. I've got an iPhone 14 Pro, which is last year's most latest and greatest Apple product. But when you zoom in on it, if I bring the lens down really close by hand with just a 1-to-1, it blocks out the light. So I can't really get in there. So what I tried to do is to zoom in with the 2x, 3x zoom, but it looks grainy. And really, the model didn't come out grainy. It's nice and smooth. It's got some nice finish to it, but the digital zoom on the camera makes it look grainy. Just another thing to learn. I mean, lots and lots of stuff to learn. So I tried using my camera and tried setting it up to take some macro photography, but I've got a ways to go with that. So still even more learning, which is cool. I mean, I like to learn. So after I finished up the Green Man Wizard, I went on to the Flower Maiden. And again, I was looking for the detail. I was trying to get the detail. So with all three of these models that I did, the first Green Man, the second Green Man Wizard, and the Flower Maiden, they're all the same. Basically the same. They look different, but they're really the same. I used the same tool paths. I used the 1/8 inch ball nose end mill. I used the 1/4 inch end mill to do all the flat areas. The models are about the same size. They're about 12 inches by 12 inches, and they're all 1 inch thick. So that left me with making the base. The background is a 1/2 inch thick, and then the Green Man models, the Flower Maiden model, they're a 1/2 inch thick, which means that the shape height of the models is all 1/2 inch, first, second, third. The Green Man 1, the Green Man Wizard, and the Flower Maiden. They're all not the background, not the plaque part, just the 3D model part of each individual. I hope you know what I'm talking about. They're all a 1/2 inch thick. So in the dialog box, you can change the shape height, but if you change the shape height and you leave the base the same, the base is a 1/2 inch, and you change the shape height to 3/4 of an inch, well, that's more than an inch total. So the shape height and the base height, 1 plus 1 equals 2, 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1. That's what you got. So I tried just to see what would happen. I used the 1/8 inch ball end mill, and I got the same kind of response from the way I looked at it as I did with the Green Man Wizard. Then I ran a 1/16 inch ball nose end mill, and I got the same thing I did with the Green Man Wizard. It looked a lot better, it was much better. So I said, well, I'm going to try a 1/32 inch ball nose end mill, tapered ball nose end mill. Much stronger than forget it with a 1/32. It didn't really show that much difference. So then I have to ask the question, well, why? And what do I need to do? So back on the Vectric forum, and Scott 55 is an inspiration to me. He lives up in Maine. I've gone to visit him. He's got unbelievable display of all the different things that he does, and he's very inspiring. The stuff that he does is amazing, and he's really good at doing this kind of stuff with these 3D models and getting really nice detail, sharp and crisp. I really consider him to be a master. So when it comes right down to it, when I'm looking at Scott's models, I noticed something about his models, and even when I was up here visiting him and looking at his stuff, I noticed a lot about what he does is the shape height, the height of the shape of the model. You have two settings in there. You have a base height, and I'm not talking about the base height like the plaque. I'm talking about just the one individual model. Let's just say the Flower Maiden. Forget about the base. You have a shape height and a base height. So the base height would be kind of straight-sided, and the shape height is the shape of the three-dimensional part of the model. You can adjust those. So if you have like 1 inch thick material, and you don't have that plaque background that I have, and it's just the 1 inch thick material, and you make it a 1 inch shape height, then that greatly exaggerates the details in the model. I mean, you can go to the point where it doesn't look good. There's a happy medium in there somewhere. So that's what I notice about Scott's models, because he had the Green Man Wizard cut into a piece of wood, and he kind of described a process that he went through. And because his stuff is so small compared to what I do, he uses like a 0.25 millimeter tapered ball nose end mill, or a 0.5 millimeter tapered ball nose end mill, which really adds up to 1 millimeter is about 39 thousandths of an inch, about 40 thousandths, let's say. So 0.25 millimeter tapered ball nose end mill is about a 10 thousandths diameter on the tip, very fine. And a 0.5 millimeter tapered ball nose end mill is about 20 thousandths. That's smaller than a 32nd. So then, when I get right down to it, I say, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to go forward with this and get more detail for the stuff that I want? Well, the rooster is the last one that I'm going to do. And I'm going to make some changes on the rooster. But I'm not going to tell you right now. You got to watch my next video to see it. So let's just continue on and see what we're talking about. All right, talk to you later.